The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Grants Pass, Oregon, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33459. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the face of the front bumper, passenger and driver side outer edge dual air horns. Just inside of that location, aligned with the frame rail, you'll find your front tow hooks. Located all the way to the driver's side front face, you'll find your PA speaker, siren speaker. Just inside the bumper extension is where you'll find your tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. On the outer edge on the body, you'll find your turn indicator marker light. Just inside of that, you'll find the headlight cluster housing the low and high beam headlights. Just above that headlight structure, you'll find forward-facing emergency warning lights. Moving to the center of the grille area, you'll find your mechanical siren. Underneath the Pierce logo, slightly behind, you'll find the release mechanism for the hood. Moving up onto the seamless windshield, you'll find 3 wiper blades. Moving to the outer edge, you'll find your mirror containing a convex and flat mirror. Moving up onto the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Then canted on a 45-degree angle, you'll find 2 side-facing lights, passenger and driver side. Up to the very top of the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located in the center of that light bar is where you'll find your Opticom. Let's take a look at the bumper extension. On the side of the bumper extension, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. You'll also find at all points of entry grab handles for personnel. Let's take a look at some close-ups. This is the front bumper extension, 1.5-inch swivel discharge. As we look at the front grille, you'll find the mechanical siren and access behind the Pierce logo for releasing the hood. As we move to the side, you'll find your turn indicator and also marker light. As we move all the way to the top, you'll find that forward-facing flood, the 2 slightly angled side floods, and your emergency warning light bar. On the driver's side, just above the door handle, you'll find this side-facing camera. Let's now move to the side of the vehicle. This is your passenger side. We'll identify a few items within this area. First, your shoreline inlet. When plugged into shore power, the auto charging system will activate. It is a 20 amp plug, which will also activate 110 power with inside your vehicle. Just beneath that, you'll find an auto eject for your air. Let's now move to the pump panel area. You'll find 2 2.5-inch discharges. You'll also find this warning label regarding pressurized hazard. Moving to the center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. It is the Pierce American Flag Eagle. To the outer edge, you'll find your foam functions lever for draft and fill. Just beneath that, you'll find a failure foam hazard warning label. As we move all the way down, you'll find your 2.5-inch female auxiliary inlet. As we move down to the very bottom of the image, you'll find your direct tank fill. And then across the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled drains. Here's a close-up here of that warning label regarding not to mix different brands, consistencies, or type of foam for foam failure hazard. And then at the very bottom, you'll find your direct tank fill. Let's move up from this location and we'll talk a little bit about these are your 2 crosslays, both 1.5-inch discharges. Located in the very center, you'll find the release mechanism to allow you to pull that speed lay out. And then to the very far right, because of those hoses coming off in this area, there is the possibility of entanglement, and that's why we have a warning label there.
At the very top, you have additional storage locations. Moving across the very rear of the apparatus at the top section, you'll find side-facing scene lights in addition with warning lights. Just in front of the rear wheels is where you'll find your folding wheel chocks. As we move just from this location upwards to the roll-up compartment door, you'll find your pump module, and we'll first start at the very top of the pump module with this indicator light. If your pump is properly engaged, that light will be illuminating. To the left, you have a red air horn button. Moving to the right, the green module is an indication here for your foam tank level A. In the gray area, you'll find your master intake gauge on the left, and to the right, you'll find your master discharge gauge. Located between those two gauges, you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently in a plugged position. To the right, you'll find your PCM fault. There's also an audible and visual indicator. The audible indicator outer bezel does allow you to dampen the sound by turning the outer edge of that bezel. Across the center here, we're going to find all of our color-coded and labeled discharges. We'll now move all the way to the right side to your pressure throttle governor, and we'll identify those items within its module. First, starting up at the very top, if illuminated, it would be yellow. It is a check engine light. Located directly in the center, you'll find a digital readout for your tachometer. Moving to the right, you'll find if illuminated, it would be a stop engine and it would be red. Beneath that, you'll find all of your engine diagnostic information. Moving downward into the blue module, this is an indication for your water tank level. Moving to the right, the red silence button will allow you to silence the audible alarm. Moving down to the orange button, this is your menu button, allowing you to scroll through the various menu functions. There are two positions, either pressure control mode or throttle control mode, which is labeled RPM. Those are the two options that you have. To select that, you'll go to the blue control module button, and that will allow you to select through the various module functions, either pressure control or throttle control, with a digital readout just above that. To the right, if illuminated in green, it would be throttle ready, indicating that you may engage the throttle. And to the right, you have a green preset button. If you choose to utilize this in advance, you may set presets for different pump pressures or RPM. Just beneath that, you'll find the throttle. Right to increase, decrease is to the left, push in the center for idle. As we move to the left, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. You'll also find your fire pump primer with instructions at least 1,000 RPMs to engage the primer. You do have a real blowout. It is a twist, not a pull. Just down from that location, you'll find your recirculating line. To the right, the red module. This is going to be your Husky 3 foam system control module. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then to the right, we have an electronic valve here for your deluge at the very top of the vehicle. Moving down to the left, you'll find your tank fill. Further to the right is your tank to pump. You do have at the lower section here two electronic valves, which are for the passenger side of the vehicle. First, the 2.5 inch and also your large diameter. Both of those are electronic. Moving to the right, you have your Husky 3 foam system specification placards. We'll move all the way down to the next section where you'll find your intake relief valve. Moving to the right, you'll find your primer drain. And then you'll also find this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this equipment only after they've received proper training. We'll talk a little bit about what's behind this panel next. At the lower section, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled drains. Let's take a look at the very top here with some close-ups. Once again, master and intake and also discharge. You do have a red air horn button located at the very top for easy access. As we move to your discharges, you can see they're color-coded and labeled, the red indicating water and foam capable. On the left-hand side of the panel, you'll find a set of rocker switches. Let's go back now and talk a little bit about this minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. You can see that the indications on the left-hand side are for the GPM, and then all the way to the right-hand side will be for the RPM. You do have a governed speed of 2,400 RPMs. Close up here, tank fill, tank to pump, and also the priming instructions regarding at least 1000 RPMs while running that primer. We'll talk a little bit about some of the modules. Let's first start with the Husky 3 foam system. At the very top of the red module, you'll find a green on-off button. Once that has been activated, your digital information will be displayed. Moving down from that, you'll find the 2 gray buttons. These are the increase or decrease for the foam percentages. And then moving to the right, you'll find a yellow prime button. Further to the right, you'll find your system status. It is a set of blinking lights that will indicate in the upper instructions regarding what is happening with your system. Let's move down now to your intake relief valve. You can see the instructions on the intake relief valve itself. As we move to the very bottom section, you'll find all your color-coded associated labeled drains. Looking inside is where you'll find your foam fill location. This is for foam operations. It's the yellow handle inside. Just beneath that, you'll find your manual pump shift. It is a protected switch with an indicator light. As we move just in front of the rear wheel, you'll find 2 SCBA bottle storage locations and an oxygen bottle. The next compartment back, you'll find the silver diesel fuel, ultra low sulfur. And at the very top of the same compartment, you'll find your blue 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. As we move further back just over the rear wheel, you'll find adjustable shelving in this compartment and LED lighting. We're now to the rear of the apparatus just behind the rear wheel. You'll find a 9,000 pound receiver capable for your winch. As we move to the very far rear compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving, and at the base, you'll find a pull-out style shelf with a release mechanism on the lower right. As we look to the rear of the apparatus, we'll identify these 4 individual compartments, and then once we start with those, we'll move through the rest of the items within this area. First, let's start and take a look. 24-foot and a 14-foot roof ladder stored on the far left-hand side of the vehicle in the rear. Just up from that, you'll find your 10-foot folding ladder, also long tool-handled storage at the very top. Just over the step area location of the ladder is where you'll find your storage location for your large diameter suction, and then also a long tool handle storage compartment. As we move down to the very bottom, you'll find your booster line located underneath. There is also a push button just inside the compartment on the right hand side for the reel rewind, and then also tension and manual rewind on the left. If you need to access the tow location, your tailboard does tilt upward to gain and reveal access to this tow location. We're now at the top of the apparatus. You'll find your sealed cover at the top has these yellow diamonds. This is an indicator of the walk space area, and you can see that the edge is clearly identified for firefighter safety. Let's move now. There are 4 compartments, 2 on the left side and also 2 on the right. All 4 of those compartments do house dry deck material inside and also LED lighting. Let's move to the dunnage area where you'll find your water fill location for your water tank. And then to the left in this image, you'll find the A tank, which is your foam fill for Class A foam. There is a warning label on this tank indicating foam failure and not to mix different brands, consistencies, or types. As we move once again to the dunnage section, you'll find the module for your Husky Foam System 3. This is the hydraulic reservoir and fill location for checking. On that same area, you'll find an additional electronic top control. This is an electronic valve which will control your master stream device at the top of the vehicle. Looking forward toward the cab itself, this is a non-walking surface. There are these warning labels here indicating that. As we look now, these are the 2 forward compartments, right and left side. Let's go ahead and move from the top section down to the side of the apparatus. This is the passenger side. There are 3 pull-out shelves. The top shelf is a pull-out that will tilt downward. The middle will pull straight out, and the bottom will also pull straight out. You do have, once again, SCBA bottle storage location and also retaining straps in front of and rear of the rear tire. As we move to the center compartment, you'll find pegboard style equipment toolboard. The D handle releases the mechanism. There is a locking mechanism. One is in the open position, which will lock open. To release that, it's located on the hinge side. As we look to the forward compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving, LED lighting. Let's look at the very top where you'll find battery direct 12 volt access. In addition, when plugged into shore power, 110 access. As we move to the pump panel, passenger side, large diameter pump intake is the Pierce logo American Flag Eagle. We do have once again a warning label here regarding pressurized hazard and removing caps that may be under pressure. There are two discharges on this. First, the 2.5-inch discharge. Because it's an electronic valve, there is an override located with it. Just as with the large diameter green, there is also an override. As we move all the way to the rear, this is your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, and it's a female coupling. At the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and associated drains for this area. As we move forward, you'll find this warning label regarding entanglement. This is the through compartment for your crosslay. There are two accesses here for pre-connected lines. It's the same through compartment that's accessible from the driver's side. Release mechanism for those speed late if you choose to move it from this side of the vehicle. Close-ups of the items we just talked about, we're referencing the override location. And then at the very rear section of this pump area, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet passenger side. Close-up here of your drains. As we move forward into the cab, I'd like to remind you that all points of entry will have warning labels affixed to the door panel. As we look overhead, you'll find your push on and off red and white lights, air conditioning, and additional compartment space. There are also two top-mounted grab handles located in here for firefighter safety. As we move through the rest of the components, let's first start in the rear. This is your access panel for gaining daily checks for oil and transmission. There is a light just inside this compartment. As we move just behind the operator's seat, you'll find an audible speaker here with volume control and also your battery charging system. As we move to the officer's seat, point of entry, so we'll have those warning labels. Your vehicle is also equipped with an airbag. There is some information here regarding that airbag. And please do not block any locations within this area. Let's now move to the floorboard where you'll find the air horn foot pedal. As we move just inward of that location, officer space, you'll find the electronic siren and mechanical siren foot pedals. You'll also find a glove box located just above the airbag location. And then as we move in toward the dash area, you'll find 12-volt USB access in addition with your vehicle data reporter. Let's look overhead in the officer space, push on and off white and red lights. You also have a set of switches here on the front overhead section, front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene. You also have some alley lights and a siren brake for your mechanical siren. When any of these buttons have been activated, the outer edge will illuminate, indicating that it's on. Moving further to the left, you'll find your traffic advisor. You'll also find your seatbelt information center, red indicating someone's in the seat and not belted, green indicating they're in the seat and belted. We're now to the driver's area, point of entry, so we've got some warning labels here. We're also going to find on the far right-hand side of this image, as we move around the corner about the right ankle of the operator, is where you'll find this placard housing the date of manufacture, job number, in addition with helpful information, gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, and also all of your fluid capacities for the component and also fluid types. Let's move to about the left knee of the operator where you'll find a few diagnostic information for your service personnel. First, the green, engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port. The very top one is going to be your tech module, and to the right you'll find your display module. You do have ABS diagnostic, engine diagnostic located here, and also your DPF regen. Moving up from that location, you'll find your quarter turn battery switch. This is your master battery switch for your vehicle. You'll also find at the very top red hazard lights, start and ignition. You'll also find emergency master located just inside of that area, headlights, parking lights, and then also your bright and dim for your panel lights. As we move to the dash, you'll find on the left your transmission oil DEF level and water temperature. Located on the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front and rear air, speedometer and tachometer located in the center. Above and below those two, you'll find diagnostic information that will display. As we look to the steering wheel, you'll find a supplemental restraint system in the steering wheel housing and also controls at the steering level. You do have a pull to apply or system parking brake and push to release. This is an air brake system. Moving to the right, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information here right at your fingertips. Please see your owner's manual. You do have an Allison transmission. This is your transmission pad with an informational note here to pump in neutral. We have a retarder on-off switch and also auto apply for that retarder, off-road traction, and mirror heat. Moving from this location, just upward of this set of switches, you'll find your siren brake, electronic siren, and load manager. There are additional switches here that can be activated for future switch locations if necessary. Let's move to the far right where you'll find your stationary OK to pump and roll. That's an indicator. You have your water pump and also your foam system switch. Above that, you'll find your exhaust temperature. Let's move back to the dash area where you'll find your mirror controls left and right. It's just above that exhaust temperature. And then as we move to the very front section of the dash, you'll find your climate control, heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Over the operator's head, you'll find this placard: height 10 feet 2.5 inches, length 32 feet 9.5 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 46,500 pounds. If you make any adjustments or changes to your apparatus, please update this placard. As we move to the right of this location, just a quick image here so you can identify where things are located. Let's first start with this set of switches for your emergency operations. This is the emergency master, which coincides with the left smaller EM switch, roof light, front warning, side warning, upper and lower rear warning, your Opticom, and also the high beam flash. Moving to the right of this location, you'll find lighting information. This is going to be your front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, driver's side alley and passenger side alley lights, and then all of your ground lights are referred to as perimeter lighting. Moving to the right, this is going to be a digital readout for your pump pressure. You also have a water and foam level indicator. Let's take a quick look through the cab. You'll find your PA system above that. Just to the right of it, you'll also find your seatbelt information. To the rear, you'll find 2 seats located in the center, outer compartments on the exterior edges. Moving within to the rear of the apparatus, you can just get an idea. There are 2 compartments located in the very rear facing. And then there are also the overhead compartments over those also. Congratulations, Grants Pass, Oregon, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33459. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus or any technical specifications that may be necessary, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.